those Franz Wagner highlights. Welcome into Courtside Countdown. I'm your host, Kendra Douglas. I see you guys are already chiming in, but of course, this is the pregame show that we are dedicating to you, the fans. So continue to chime in. We are on all platforms, and I want to see everyone just be able to talk about the fact that Franz Wagner is back in action and is available to return for the Orlando Magic. A little housekeeping, make sure you guys subscribe to all the YouTube and all the channels for the Orlando Magic so you can continue to stay in the know and keep up with what we've got going on here at the Orlando Magic. So, you saw it. Big news. When you look at Franz Wagner's name under the injury status, it now just says questionable. It doesn't say out anymore. And head coach Shammond Mosley talked about how excited he was to see that. And Franz actually spoke with us today after shoot around just to talk about how excited he is to return and be back in action. Let's listen to him.
I mean, it was a long process, and I'm not the most patient person, so it's not that easy for me, but it feels good to, be done with it. Yeah, I think everybody did their best to keep me in good spirits. I think, obviously that starts with me as well, but no, I mean, the team's been great on the road, just, still including me in stuff, and, I think that's the beauty of playing a team sport. I think that you're, not going through this stuff alone. Take my time, and not rush back, and then, also be aware that, it's a long time out, and, whether it's conditioning or rhythm, that stuff takes time to get back. So, to give yourself a little bit of a grace period to, not expect everything to, just be.
Okay, so just good to hear him talk about just being back, being able to be available. He missed 20 games due to the injury and 4 since he returned to competition reconditioning this month. That is such a mouthful to say. So I want to get to some of your comments real quick because you guys are so excited. So hello to everyone in the chat. Will, hello. How cold is it in Toronto? Single digits, Will. It was single digits. It was like 8 degrees, but felt like -4. I'm super happy to be back in Florida, even though it is cold here too. You guys are so excited to have Franz back. Love that Franz is returning. I love it. I love it. We need to make Scoot Henderson benched. All right, we will get to talking about the upcoming team, which you can kind of see behind me, the Portland Trailblazers. They are in town as the Magic will take them on. First, we have to get past the fact that the Magic, when we were in Toronto, as you just mentioned, Will, it was freezing there and it was a hard game. They didn't have RJ Barrett in that game, but now they did. They didn't have Paolo Banchero for the Magic, but they did. So let's go ahead and talk about those. An interesting quarter. Interesting, though, first quarter for that game, the Magic started off strong. They ended the first quarter the same way with that score that they did the last time they played them on January 3rd. The team was already undermanned going into it. So J.I., he tried to give it a go, only was able to play 4 minutes before he was out due to an illness. So you're talking about a team that only had 8 available players. KCP played a big role in this one, scored 20 on the night on this one. Anthony Black, a guy who they have continued to ask more from, rightfully so, got his 4th start of the season. He ended the night with 17. And Orlando, they just had only 11 bench points. I think you could see it was just draining them because they were so undermanned in that game. Defending without fouling played a role in that one because Paolo and Wendell were in foul trouble throughout this game. The Magic, though, on the plus side, they did jump out to a 21-point lead, making 13 of its first 17 shots from the floor and knocking down 5 of their first 6 three-pointers. But it was that third quarter that really just hurt this team. You saw so much of how much physicality there was against Toronto this time around. RJ Barrett led the way with 19 points. Scotty Barnes and Grady Dick each scored 17 points. Scotty, though, really helped out his teammates in this one with the rebound game. You can kind of see right there the notes from that game. As you see, the Magic lost in this one 109-93. But here's where I want you guys to look to. The rebound game, the Magic, they were able to really help out in that one too. It just seemed like they just couldn't get what they needed to because they were so undermanned in this game. But you also have to remember, this is a team that is looking to integrate people back in. So you insert Paolo Banchero and how he was able to come back into this game and how he was able to really help them out in this one as well. taking a look at Paolo's game and what he was able to accomplish with them, it was his 6th game back, recorded 26 points, 12 rebounds. It was his 13th career game with 25-plus points and 10-plus rebounds in this one. And overall, you got to love what you're seeing from him as he continues to be aggressive. One thing head coach Jamal Mosley was asked about is comparing his game to Carmelo and LeBron, and old Carmelo. And what I thought was really nice was head coach Jamal Mosley said, you can't really compare him to any of those guys. He's creating his own game that players are going to look up to and want to follow and want to copy. And I think you're seeing how much of a playmaker he is and how he continues to grow in year 3 with this team. Going into some of your comments, we love P5. Paolo will find his groove. Completely agree. He will continue to find his groove as he is continuing to integrate himself back into this. Like I just said, it was a 6th game back since his oblique injury. Talk about Franz Wagner integrating himself back into this rhythm as well. Someone asked, will he be on a minutes restriction? And yes, Franz will be on a minutes restriction in this one. Paolo will continue to also be in a minutes restriction. He is continuing to ramp up and continuing to grow. But yes, he will. Both of those guys will be on a minutes restrictions tonight. So you look out for that. But it'll be so good, just so good to see everyone back into the mix of this one. So I want to get to some of your questions, some of your comments. Greetings from Germany. Love that you guys are always continuing to show love for the Orlando Magic. Like I already answered, what do you think Franz's minutes are going to look like today? Hi 20ish. Oh, J Curve, happy birthday. Happy birthday. We'll give you a happy birthday on this one. Okay, so the Magic are back home. They've lost 4 straight. Now it's time to look at ahead. Taking a look at the Eastern Conference, though, let's look at those standings for a little bit. With the Magic, they're 23-22. They're in 8th place, but of course this could change. And here's why. If you look at their schedule and the rest of the games this Magic team is playing, it's favorable for them. So, and it starts here with Portland. It actually started with Toronto, but now it will start here with Portland. A very favorable schedule for the Orlando Magic. We talked to Kenny about this, and he said, yeah, this is a great opportunity for them to finish off strong and make that playoff push. So I think when you look at this, the standings right now, it's going to fluctuate, and it's going to, continue to be fluid, especially against teams that are sub 500. Now, here's the thing. You look at this Trailblazers team and what they've been able to accomplish, but you also have to remember that this Magic team did fall to Utah, so they cannot look at some of these games as an easy win. They have to give it their all for each one. Let's go to the West, or better yet, the Northwest standings, because we could not, I'm going to go ahead and say it, you could not get everyone on the West Coast standings on our screen. So taking a look at what the Portland Trailblazers have been able to do in the West so far, 15-28, 4th year for Chauncey Billups as their head coach. They're 13th in standings. They have an 11-23 record in the Western Conference and just a 4-5 in the Eastern Conference. So they're still getting through East Coast teams. Hello, they're here today. So that's something to look out for as well. But you got guys like Scoot. You got guys like Anthony. You got guys like DeAndre. So it should still be a battle. And I guess my question for you guys and you, the fans who are on here today, how does this Magic team take off and get this win tonight here at the Kia Center? How are they able to take out guys like Anthony Simons, and how are they able to slow down guys like Scoot? So that's the question. Okay, I do want to get to some other things. Yes, let's go ahead before we get to talking about this Portland team. We're gonna go ahead, Dan Savage in the chat now. We're gonna go ahead and go through this injury list real quick, because people are asking. They want to know about Jalen. They want to know about Goga. Goga was able to get through some contact work today, light contact work today, as Coach Mosley talked about a little bit. That is something where it has to continue to progress on how he's feeling the next day as well. So he is continuing to progress. Court work is what they've been getting in. Jalen has court work today. He got some court work in today. Gary Harris got in some court work in today. So guys are getting out there. It's just going to take time.
No, and the good part is I watched all 3 of them go around various actions today. They all look really good and making a lot of progress. Goga, there's a leak protocol he has to go through.
Yes.
And all these steps and hurdles he has to clear with contact. But I think that's trending really well. Jalen, in the part that we were privy to that was open, looked, sensational. He looked almost like he was ready to go tonight. I know it's killing him, but backs are tricky. You got to be patient with them because you don't want it to be something that reoccurs. Gary, I think, is getting really close. So all those guys, I think, are knocking on the door.
They are. And yes, Cole Anthony, he's still sick, dealing with an illness. So that's something that is mentioned in here as well. And I want to make sure I get through all of the injuries before we have to get talking about this Portland Trailblazers team. So they are here tonight. We keep continuing to play teams where we only have like 1 or 2 games in between, and then we're playing them again. So we will get on the road next week to actually go to Portland and play this team. But they're here now. You talk about guys like Anthony Simons, who is from here.
Yep.
And is an Edgewater IMG Academy kind of guy. What he's been able to accomplish with this team this season has been amazing as well, especially when they played Miami. They were able to get that win in Miami. Let's check out those highlights as we talk about Anthony. 24 points to get that win. Taking a look at his game so far, he's very effective at the three-point shot as well, too.
No, he's a guy who could put the ball in the bucket in a hurry. Always likes to show out here from the Altamont area. Seen him working out at the Magic's old practice facility a number of times at Genesis Sports, what was formerly known as the RDV Sportsplex. So he's a guy you have to look out for. Listed on the injury report is questionable. He's going to go through his shooting routine. We'll see if he's available tonight along with DeAndre Ayton. Those are 2 key pieces for them to see if they're available tonight.
Yeah, and as you talk about him, you just mentioned Ayton, and that's the next guy that if he is available for this team tonight, he's also going to be someone who is hard to stop. Tuesday night's game in Miami, he marked his 29th game of 20-plus points and 15-plus rebounds. Second time doing so this season. He's recorded 9 double-doubles in the last 16 games and 18 total this season. His efforts and what he's been able to provide for this Trailblazers team, he is someone that this Magic squad will have to contain and slow down.
The Blazers aren't great in many areas when compared to teams across the league, but 2 areas where they are stand out in top 5 is offensive rebounds and, second chance points. So for the Magic, we'll get to that a little bit later, but that's going to be a priority, and if he plays, he'll be one of the guys you have to watch out for there.
I was talking to Portland's sideline reporter about Scoot, and she was mentioning to me how last year there was so much pressure on him because he kind of went high in the draft, and it was just a matter of he was trying to figure it out. This year, he is having himself a season, and he's very much someone who, when you're talking about Anthony, when you're talking about Ayton, you got to mention him in the mix as well.
Oh, no question, especially over the last 5 games. He's been playing sensational, averaging over 24 points during that span, over 7 assists, while shooting over 50% from the field and 50% from 3. So these last 5 games, he's playing at the rate that you would expect for a player taking top 3 in the draft. But you're completely right. There's a lot of pressure that comes along with it, especially when you're in a draft class with Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, 2 guys who are achieving high accolades, and you believe you belong in that same stratosphere. You put a lot of pressure on yourself, and I think right now he's starting to settle into his own and playing really well for a Blazers team.
One thing that Coach Mosley always says is you cannot determine how a team's going to be based off their record. And taking a look at their last 5 games, yes, Portland just won 2 out of their last 5. But again, when you look at who they're going against, how they're playing, especially that Brooklyn game, you look at the Heat game, all very close games in a sense. And you can't just look at them as someone to get an easy win over.
Oh, no question about it, especially with a lot of the guys that we mentioned, all very capable of having big nights. And for a Magic team right now that's trying to short bodies, reintegrate guys, have illness going through the team, there is no way you could take anything off. And as we know, they have to play a full 48 minutes tonight.
Yeah, they sure do. But since you are here, Dan Savage, let's get to your game notes. And before we get to your game notes, I want to ask you, the fans out there, what was your favorite Franz moment before he got injured? What has been your favorite Franz moment? I want to hear all the things because we get 1 back, we get 2 back. Franz Wagner available to play tonight. that was one of your storylines. And how good is it to be able to see him back in the mix?
Oh, so good because he was playing at an all-star level before he went out. So welcome back, Franz. Jet Howard cleared for takeoff.
Yep.
Jonathan Isaac back in the lineup. All those bodies will definitely help the Magic tonight. Closeout possessions, as we mentioned, 2 areas where the Blazers excel. Offensive rebounds, second chance points. Have to limit those. If you do that, you'll have success against them. And then having defense generate offense. The Blazers give up the 3rd most turnovers, allow the 3rd most points off those turnovers. That's an area where the Magic excel. And if you're struggling for offense, that's an easy way to get it.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at some of the things that you guys are saying, majority of you guys are saying Franz game winner in LA, easily the biggest one.
We were there for that.
We were there.
And the most amazing part about that, unless you were there in person, I wish we had cameras from our point of view, but literally the entire crowd from row 1 back all did the UFC fight, commentator thing. We're all just jumping back in the seats, and it was literally took the breath away of a Crypto Center crowd that, that's not easy to do. They've seen a lot of amazing stuff over there.
They sure have. It really did take our breaths away, too. We were just like, what is happening today? Okay, getting back to some of your guys' comments. Is Isaac back? He is a go for this game tonight. Yes, from his illness. So he is back. Someone said we need Goga as well. We just talked about it. We know we need Goga as well. But NBA protocols, and we want to make sure these guys stay healthy. Remember, guys, we still got a lot going on. We still have playoffs you got to talk about. So, yes, we all want Goga back. We all want these guys to be back healthy, but it all depends on the way they respond to treatment and the way they are able to recover, Dan.
Yeah, and, he has hurdles he has to clear that are per NBA protocols. And so I think he's getting really close to clearing them. He's at the final stages, already doing some light contact stuff. So I expect Goga back soon, and he's been a great defensive anchor. So to get him and or Suggs back in the lineup soon would be huge for this team. Isaac, as you mentioned, with the illness, he went through shoot-around, seems to be doing much better. So hopefully we don't have a situation like the other night where he was only able to go for a couple minutes, really gave it his all, then had to come out of the game.
He did. And as we continue to get through some of the things you said, let's also get to the upcoming schedule for the Orlando Magic because, again, on paper, this is favorable in the Magic's, except for I wouldn't call Detroit favorable, but on paper, it is favorable for them. Again, like I mentioned, we go to Portland soon, but they do welcome in Detroit. Then there's Miami. Detroit is one of those games where it's going to be good to have Paolo back. It's going to be good to have Franz back for that one as well, especially Miami too. What do you like about this schedule and how it does favor the Magic?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some tougher tests. Detroit's playing a lot better right now. Miami is going through a lot of internal things.
Yeah.
I think that they're trying to level out. And then you start out west. That's a really long road trip, especially when you factor in the Miami portion of that. Even though the team will come home, that's still a lot of games away from home. You hope that it's a reintegrating guys that, they can get it done on the West Coast. And by the time that we get back here at the Kia Center, the schedule really lightens up and that they can take advantage of it.
So here's what's funny. Last year, we played Portland. We went to Portland. It was like our first game. And it was Franz's game, that one, because I remember he was the guy who I interviewed first. So how fitting is it that this year he is coming back and he is playing Portland again? So I expect, even though he's on a minutes restriction, I think he'll have a good night tonight.
Yeah, the Magic have won 4 of their last 5 against the Blazers.
Yeah.
Prior to that, had lost 10 straight against Portland, so it's nice to have success against them. And if you look back at the two teams' histories, there's a lot of those long stretches of one team winning, the other team losing, and kind of flip-flopping in that regard. So hopefully, we're at the stage now where the Magic rack up 9 out of 10 wins over the Blazers.
Yes.
And get that all-time series back to more favorable for the Magic.
Getting back to some of your guys' questions, someone had the nerve to ask, is Franz back? Yes. That is the show today. Franz is back, everybody. One thing that I really liked, one comment, favorite Franz moment was when him and his brother gave Christmas gifts.
Oh.
I like that you mentioned that because that is a special moment, because I feel like that also shows you just what the organization and this team is willing to do for those during a time of need and during the holidays. So I like that one.
I was there for that one, and just the smile on the kids' faces.
Yes.
For that just put you in the holiday spirit. And both of those guys are kind of like big kids themselves. I mean, Mo Wagner's down on the floor opening presents with all the kids. So that was a special one to see. It really showed their personalities off and what type of giving people they are, which just fits in perfectly with the Magic organization.
It sure does, and it's going to be so exciting to see this team just get bodies back. I want to mention one thing that stood out to me today when head coach Jamal Mosley was talking is the whole giving grace to your players, but also the idea of you can't make excuses. So I love that he mentioned you have to give grace because these are things that you can't control. You can't control sicknesses, you can't control injuries, but when you suit up, when you lace up, and you play the Magic way, you've got to be available to play.
You know, I know that if you're watching this on Twitter, it's not exactly a platform of grace all the time or patience.
Yes.
But what I think the Magic did when you look at these last couple games especially, they came out and fought really hard for the first half of games, first 24 minutes. And then it's really hard to keep up that level of play for a full 48 when you got only 8 guys and one of them's on a minutes restriction just trying to come back himself. So I think now that they've got a few extra bodies back, it's going to be more acceptable and more realistic for them to give a full 48 minutes of that type of effort that we've seen in the first half of these last 2 games against, you know, the Nuggets and then once again on the road.
I agree. OMB Fantastic says, Kendra, it's been said wherever you go, championships follow.
I like that.
Because I don't want to jinx myself, though.
I know. We're not talking about it till it happens.
We're
it's
not
like a
talking about
birthday
it.
wish.
Right.
Don't mention it.
But if you have looked at my resume and the teams I've been able to cover.
Say less.
That's it.
Say
That's
less.
it. That's all I'll say. That's all I say. Okay, it's AB starting tonight. The Anthony Black Glazer. He has his own fan squad.
Wow.
The Anthony Black
deserves
Glazer.
it.
What?
I like it.
I like this. Need to know. Here's what I will say. It was great to see how well he's been able to be in the starting lineup. He got a sports start when he played in Toronto. And one thing I talked to him about was he said, Coach asked him, and he's been able to change his mindset.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, JC. He's been able to change his mindset to be more aggressive downhill and at the rim. So whether he starts tonight or not, it is good to see that he's understanding when he comes off the bench, he has to bring a level of energy. And if he is starting, he still has to bring that level of energy, but continue to be aggressive at the rim.
We'll go to the text messages here just to make
Let's
sure.
go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Going in. And yes, Anthony Black will start tonight.
Okay, there you go.
KCP.
There you go.
Franz.
There you go.
Paolo and Wendell.
Woo, that is a dangerous lineup right there, Dan Savage.
I know, and it means Tristan's going to come off the bench.
Okay.
And I think we saw a lot of him, playing well in that starting group.
Yeah.
But I think what Jamal Mosley is going to look for him coming off the bench, considering he'll be playing less minutes, less have to worry about himself getting in foul trouble, is a more aggressive Tristan da Silva over these next couple of games. You mentioned that pregame, and I think that's what you should look for out of Tristan tonight.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm getting to everyone's comments. We're making the most of what we had at the time we had, and it was fantastic.
Absolutely.
I was never down even during that streak because we could only grow from it. I like that comment because this is a very young team, and they're still figuring out. One thing that KCP said when I talked with him about his relationship with Bruce Brown is, in order to win, you have to make sacrifices. And so I think that's very telling of this team as well. You have to make sacrifices. Everyone just wants to win. You're going to go through bumps in the road. But to see that this team is learning from those bumps, it shows you the growth and maturity.
I think the best lesson here is, look, when you're a guy, when a team's fully healthy, and you're in the back of the rotation, you're like, how is my pathway to playing?
Yeah.
How can it happen? And I think right now, everybody on this Magic team realizes I have to be ready at all times.
Oh, for sure.
And on top of that, guys like Goga have proven you could go from the back end of a rotation, not be playing, and if you prove yourself when you have the opportunity, you can end up in the starting lineup permanently. And so I think that gives a lot of confidence in guys in the back of the rotation, and a lot of desire to keep working at a high level, which, as we've seen, can play huge dividends later in the season.
For sure, for sure. All right, Dan Savage, before we wrap up, final thoughts for tonight's game. This Magic team, they've lost the last 4. How do they come away with a win before they invite Detroit into town?
Look, with a team like Portland who's struggling in the standings, the best way to establish yourselves and come away with the victory is smack them in the mouth right out of the get-go. The Kia Center is going to be jumping, 1 with Brazil night in here, 2 for Franz Wagner's return. You come out with a strong run early, control the glass, turn them over, and you can make it a long night for these guys behind us.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see it all. Again, Franz Wagner is back in action for this Orlando Magic team. Paolo Banchero.
Nice.
It doesn't sound good. Paolo Banchero is back in action, too, for this team. Now, all you guys have to do is just head over to FanDuel Sports Network, where you can join Dante Marcatelli and the team for the Magic Live pregame show on FanDuel Sports Network, your home for the Orlando Magic. That starts at 6:30 with the game at 7 p.m. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. We appreciate all that you guys can do for us and all that you guys have done for us. Thank you, Magic fans, for continuing to log on, continuing to join the chat. I will see you Monday for the Orlando Magic group chat, because we will be talking about both of these games from tonight and on Saturday. So make sure, again, you guys subscribe to the Orlando Magic YouTube page so you can be involved and in the know of all things. Last comments, anything else? No, that's it.
Do our messages from our group chat end up in the Magic group chat?
They do, right on. They do. All right, good night, you guys, and we will see you, and enjoy the game.